there is this process that takes place that is called waking up, referred to as waking up. It's becoming conscious, your higher self. You know, there's many things you can call it. And it happens when the extent to which you're suffering from trying to live for other people and with yourself that you've put together for them reaches a point where it falls apart and your life kind of comes down on you, and what you see at the time to be your life is your life circumstances, and your life circumstances start to unwind and come apart, and it feels like you're dying and you're having this ego death, and you think your life's going to end because your life circumstances are ending. But what is happening is this version of reality you've constructed for other people and yourself in their world is coming apart. It's you slipping out of the subjective seat of your subconscious mind, or the subjective seat of your past experiences, and realizing yourself to be in the present moment aside from all of those things that you've identified as up until that point. And you know, ego deaths can come real blunt and hard and quick, like if you eat mushrooms or something and you can't really tie together what's happening. But a much more intimidating version of an ego death is one that takes place when you're not on any psychedelics. It's happening very slowly. Your ego is dying and you sit there and watch it die. And it happens slowly over months of your life, and it takes years to put back together. You know, when you do have a radical experience of that, like you eat mushrooms or something, that experience does get dug deep in between, beneath what is in the way of you being ready for that to happen in this other version of it, this real slow process of it happening naturally, where you're going to sort your life out, and it quickens, and it's going to come back, and it is going to come to you like that. And that's why eating mushrooms and stuff, really, you never go back. It's because, so the best way to approach this, and I just want to say this happened to me, and what's so intimidating that is, I became conscious. When you become conscious, when you lose yourself, you know, and the truth about what it takes to put yourself back together from this experience happening is that there's no answer, dude, for it. There's no one video you're going to go watch. There's no one person that's going to tell you what to do. And that's because the truth of it is the problem, you could be shown in other people's experience like this one I'm giving you, because I was dying for this and couldn't find this even when I was going through this. That is someone who has been through something that when they tell you about their experience, you don't feel as crazy. You know, you don't feel like you're completely losing your mind, and you can understand someone's been there. But what you don't understand is how to get out of it, and that's because you can only understand the problem that you're being confronted with from another person. You cannot be given the answer. And that is because you are the very answer to the problem you find yourself confronted with when this happens. No one else has it for you. And it's not yet. You have to make it, find it, fight for it, and develop it, and it becomes meaning on the backside of it as being nothing but this answer to this problem. And that's what I want to share with you as my answer to this problem that you might have. It's not going to be your answer, but I'll just share it with you. And it is, again, it's waking up. It's becoming conscious and slipping out of the subjective seat of your subconscious mind into the seat of the conscious mind, and then going through this process now that you're sat beside yourself, sorting out through all the pain and healing yourself in a way that you can go back to existing through it. You know, and it looks like this, really. There's like 3 stages of it, and it's like that, 1 to 1. And it's right here that you're subjective to your subconscious mind. You're identified as your ego, and you are myself in a way that it's like this, okay? You're just, I am myself. You don't even think about what that means. You've not separated or experienced objectivity to this idea or anything yet. And then after this thing happens, that where you become split, you slip out of the subjective seat of your subconscious mind, you get a glimpse of it objectively, that is, through the lens of the conscious mind. And your identity slips out of its seat. It's like standing up out of a chair you've been sitting in your whole life to see the world, and you turn around and look at the chair. And then the second you look back at the world you were just living in, everything is seen as that chair. And like, it's not the same. And you can't just go sit back down in the chair and it go back to being the same again. You're now sitting with yourself. And, you know, at first we're like in front of ourselves, and ourself is behind us, and our past, that is, our subconscious mind, is projecting itself out into our world all the time and causing us to experience the pain that we're going to heal from when this happens. And, you know, when you catch this glimpse of objectivity, there's just really no going back if you do it in a way that you're sober, not on psychedelics or anything, and you become split. And myself, this happens to myself. It's myself. It becomes two words, and you lose yourself in this way. You think you are, you lose yourself. But it's not losing yourself, it's finding yourself. It's losing this slippy, sleepy idea of what you thought it was. What you had forgotten it to be. You are now re-seeing, and it's really finding yourself. It's not losing yourself. The self that you're losing in this process of 1 to 2 is your lower self. What people call your lower self is the part of you that you're going to transcend. It's not, and you know, it's the ego. It's your ego, and this ego character that we all like to just call a piece of shit is a very helpful tool, and something that you're not going to put to sleep for the rest of its life and just act like it doesn't exist unless you're going to go be a monk. And so now we're separate from our ego, and instead of being in front of it while it's acting through us, we're sitting right beside it. And all the pain and all the misunderstandings that are in it, it is our subconscious mind. So we're identified as our subconscious mind, and then we realize to be with the subconscious mind. And there is no going back. You know, we get in front of our subconscious mind, our past, our self, to escape it. You know, that's the power of subjectivity, and what we often use it in a terrible way, that if you want to really get away from something, to become it is the best route to take. To put the costume of your very monster on gets you away from looking at it, but makes everyone else around you deal with it. And perhaps that's why you've slipped back out of it, because you're causing people pain, you're causing yourself pain, and it's not worth it. And it's time for you to heal the pain that you're causing and embody the understanding required to develop in order for you to heal from this pain. So now you're sitting with yourself, and from this point, in between you and a fresh new day where you're happy, you wake up happy, stands everything inside of yourself, your past, your subconscious mind, that you've got to heal. Until then, it's not going to get out of the way. It's now in front of you, and a fresh, new, clean day. You know, you were in front of it, and every day was just seems like it's in front of you, dude. And you cannot look out into the world without it being there. And you've got to sort through it. You've got to sit down with yourself. You've got to isolate yourself, and you've got to heal. You've got to realize in word and put an understanding to what was just happening and what was just going on, and what that means for you. And you know, I just want to say the truth of it. You know, the reason we do this and slip into this seat of this ego that's living for everyone else, this lower self in the first place, is to escape this state of not having an identity, because it's hell. Not knowing who you are is hell, dude. It's really hell. And you know, we're young, and we realize people are giving us appreciation for being certain ways around our name, our parents, you know, and we don't have a self, and we let them give us one to escape this state of not knowing it. And it's like a step through the door of heaven, letting them tell us who to be in order to be okay with ourselves. But unfortunately, if you ever want to get out of it, especially when you don't have a choice, which is probably the only time you're going to get out of it, that step into the door of heaven feels like one into the door of hell right out of it. And you're back in this state that you left by letting someone else do the work for you to escape it. The very same one of not knowing who you are. But now you have this developed intelligence that is your subconscious knowledge base. All that you know and all that you've learned to use to heal it. And you're not some little kid that knows nothing. You know how the world works. You know how your ideas of it are anyways. And you've got to incorporate this world you've constructed and put together, that is your intelligence, your understanding, into your identity. Into the identity, into the person that's been sitting in the seat of it, into yourself. And you've got to reincorporate these two and become whole. And instead of going back to being in front of yourself, yourself will be with you. You'll be of yourself, and you can be through it, fresh through it, with a conscious being. And the difference in the two worlds, where you're being subconscious, is you're conscious. This whole world that you constructed that falls apart is what you mean. You can't see it right now, but this is the sheer, pure meaning. It's what you have to offer as an individual. The rest of the world, it's art, and it's a beautiful thing that just needs the light of awareness hitting it very hard until it doesn't have a problem with that. At the end of the day, why would you have a problem with the lights being on? You know, all it is going to cut the light on until whatever problem you do have with the light being on is going to be fixed before that light goes out. There's no cutting the light off to get away from it. You've got to fix all the shit you've been doing that for your whole life. Those are the very things you're going to be looking at, is everything that you kept cutting the light off on when it would show up to you. That's exactly what you're going to be looking at, dude. And it sucks, and it's hell, and there's nowhere to go, and there's nobody that has the answer that is not you, unless that very thing I just said is the answer you're looking for. And you go back to being myself, being myself, but in a way that right here is kind of like myself is me, but now it's like I am myself. And there's this real holistic thing that's oneness. That's real one. That's the real one. And look, a true way to map yourself through this, is understanding the mind and how we use the terms associated with the mind and the self and the ego, objectivity and subjectivity, as it relates to the conscious and subconscious mind. And it's not something that this idea of becoming conscious and stuff, it's not something that you would think, I believe. That's certainly for me, I had seen it in the past, but I did not get here by taking off to become conscious. Okay, I found myself in the middle of hell, and this was my answer. It's more of a reckoning. This whole idea of going from subconscious to conscious being happens most often on the backside of a complete reckoning that causes an ego death, where you are forced to admit that the world and your understanding of it that you've constructed is not the truth. And when that falls apart, it is the beginning of the journey of becoming conscious and reincorporating everything that you thought you knew, which is where the state you were in, thinking you know, to realizing you don't, into an understanding that nobody does. And it is required for you to fight for meaning and construct beliefs about how you see it, to seam it back together into this experience that is of yourself, that is for other people. It's really a beautiful thing, but it's a war, a real all-out war with yourself that is, from a place of not having a choice, life or death. Because you cannot go back once this split in your mind happens and you slip into out of the subjective seat of your subconscious mind. If you try to go back, that happened because you're running from things. If you try to go back after that to running, you're not going to be able to run fast enough. And if you are, it's right towards your deathbed, on the backside of probably causing so much harm to other people that the universe itself takes you out. Because we'll do anything to escape it. And, you know, if this is you, just keep in mind, as I said, that you are the answer to the very problem that you have. And I hope this can help you identify at least the problem, but you got to take it inside with yourself and find the answers to it. Ones that, by the way, no one on the face of this planet can tell you are wrong. Can tell you that they're wrong. They're the truth of what you think and what you need to see and believe in a way that it doesn't fall to the experience of the world you're living in. And it'll be your truth, subjective truth, that now is not only subjective but merges back into the objective world. Your subjective individual being truth becomes real. You become real. And yeah.